Bearcats. This is 2.3 polynomials in synthetic division. Today we talked a lot about long division, and I'm going to review that with you right here. And then we're going to learn about synthetic division, which is actually a shortcut in certain cases. So let's take a look at long division one more time. You're going to start out here with 2x squared plus 10x plus 12. And we're going to divide by x plus 3. So x times something is 2x squared. That would be 2x. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 3 is 6x. Of course, we subtract, draw our line, cancel out. 10 and negative 6 is 4x plus 12. X times something gives us 4x. That would be 4, so positive 4. 4x. 4 times 3 is 12. Subtract both, and we end up with a remainder of 0. And so that is our long division review. I want to take this exact same problem and I want to show you a shortcut called synthetic division. And go Bearcats, beat Kingwood tonight. Alright, so if we take our original polynomial and we look at just the coefficients, the 2, the 10, and the 12, and we write those down. 2, 10, and 12. And we set this up like this. I'm going to put an extra row in here today, but I want us to get where we don't really need that extra row. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to synthetically divide by the solution to this factor. Not the factor itself like we did before, but the solution of the factor. The solution of x plus 3 would be negative 3. We're going to divide by negative 3. Alright, so the first thing we do is we have to bring the 2 down. The first comes straight down. Then we multiply 2 times negative 3. That would be negative 6. Notice the negative 6 over here. We bring down the add down, and that's 4. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. Notice our negative 12 right here. And that would be 0. And that would be just a little bit quicker way to get to our answer. Now, what you have to do is you have to realize you started with a quadratic, and you have reduced that by 1 degree, so this is now a linear equation, and these would be the coefficients now. So you would have 2x plus 4. And that is the same as we got when we did long division. So it's just a little bit simpler, a little bit quicker in some cases. Let's go on and try a few more problems. Let's go ahead and try, I'm going to do A and C here. You can go back and do B and D. Actually, you know what? A is pretty easy, so I'll let you do A. I'll go and do B and C with you. Again, we're going to look at coefficients. Notice something here, though. Really, really important. So keep your eyes wide open. Okay, if I can make these eyes wide open. Alright, so keep the eyes wide open. That you've skipped a degree. You have a cubic and then you don't have a squared term. You're going to have to put a 0 in for the squared term. A 0 for, or add, 0 for missing degree. So when we set up our long division, our synthetic division, we would have a 4. We'll put a 0 in for the squared term that we don't have. We'll have negative 13, and we'll have positive 10. And we'll set up our synthetic division again. They give us the solution to divide by this time. They're going to have you divide by negative 2. Okay, we bring down the 4. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Negative 8 and 0 is negative 8. Negative 2 times negative 8 is positive 16. 16 and 13 would be positive 3. Negative 2 and 3 would be negative 6. Negative 6 and 10 is 4. Okay, so in this case, 4 is our remainder. These become the coefficients in our now quadratic, because we were a cubic and now we've reduced it by 1. So this becomes 4x squared. That negative 8 comes minus 8x. Then our 3 plus 3. And we have a remainder of positive 4. So we're going to say, since it's positive, we're going to say plus the remainder of 4 over our divisor. But remember, our divisor is not negative 2. The factor for that would have been x plus 2. Make sure you catch that right there. So this would be over x plus 2. Okay, let's go ahead and look at C. And we've got the same setup. We have 4, 0, negative 13, and 10. And we're going to synthetically divide this time by 1/2. Don't fear fractions. Remember, do not fear the fraction. All right, so we're going to bring down our 4. Half of 4 would be 2. We're going to bring down 2 and 0 would be 2. Half of 2 would be 1. Negative 13 and positive 1 is negative 12. Half of negative 12 would be negative 6. Negative 6 and 10 again is 4. So that's kind of interesting. And that again would be our remainder. But these would be our coefficients. So we would have 4x squared plus 2x minus 12. Remainder is positive 4, so plus 4 over. And this time, this is really important. This is a little bit of a pre-cal thing here. If that's 1/2 is your solution, then it was x minus 1/2. Remember this when we did the slip and slide. I really want the factor in the old-fashioned terminology. I'm going to clear my fraction and multiply everything by 2. So I would get 2x minus 1. And that's what I'd really like to see as your denominator, 2x minus 1. That would be the answer we were looking for. All right, let's try another one. This time, I've got a little bit tougher numbers for you. We're going to use synthetic division to show that x is a solution. So if it is, in fact, a solution, we should get a 0 at the end. We should have a no remainder. And it's a solution of a third-degree polynomial. And we're going to use the result to completely factor. So we're going to take our polynomial here. The coefficients are 1, negative 3. We don't have an x term, so 0 and 2. So 1, negative 3, 0, and 2. And we're going to synthetically divide by this lovely value over here, 1 plus the square root of 3. Again, I don't want you to fear this. We've just got a little bit of math to do. We're going to bring down our 1. We have to multiply 1 times all of this. It's 1 plus the square root of 3. All right, so we have a negative 3 and a positive 1, so we have a negative 2 plus the square root of 3. We're going to now have to multiply these two together. I'm going to go off to the side over here and do that. So this is good practice. This is a really good pre-calc problem. So 1 plus the square root of 3, and we're going to multiply that times negative 2 plus the square root of 3. So I'm just going to FOIL. 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. 1 times the square root of 3 is positive square roots of 3. 3 times negative 2 is negative 2 square roots of 3. And square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is just 3. If I combine like terms, I have a 3 and a negative 2, so I have a 1. I have a positive square root of 2, a negative square, a positive square roots of 3, and a negative 2 square roots of 3, so I have a negative square root of 3. So that is what I get right here. So I have 1 minus the square root of 3. Add that to 0, I get 1 minus the square root of 3. All right, now I've got to do that multiplication one more time. So I'm going to go over here and multiply one more time. Go off to my side of my paper. You're going to notice something important here. This is 1 plus the square root of 3, 1 minus the square root of 3. Those are conjugates. Woohoo! I like conjugates because I know that the middles cancel. So I'm going to multiply the first times the first, which is 1. Multiply the last times the last, which gives me a negative 3. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. Negative 2 right there gives me my 0. I have a little party guy. I'm a happy camper. So we were able to do that. Now, if we want to go ahead and factor, this gets a little tricky. And why don't we take a look at the rest of that in class tomorrow or Monday. Actually, you'll need to look at it for Monday. I tell you what, I'll give you a bonus point on your test. Maybe not on your test, but a bonus point in some form. I'll think about that. If you can go ahead and try to write this out and then factor the rest of it. Research that a little bit. Some of you might want to do that. We'll talk about it on Monday. I'll miss you guys tomorrow. All right, last problem. Let's take a look here. We are given two factors, and we're asked to completely factor, list all our zeros, So here we're going to go through synthetic division again. We're going to use our coefficients. All of them are here. So we got a 2, a 1, a -5, and a 2. And we're going to synthetically divide. Now, here's the deal. This is the factor. So we're going to divide by -2. And we're going to divide by +1. In a minute, we're going to have 3 factors. So we're going to have another factor and another solution. Okay, we're going to find that. So let's use -2. Bring down our 2. 2 times -2 is -4. -4 plus 1 is -3. -2 times -3 is +6. That gives us a +1. -2 times 1 is -2. That gives us our first 0. Something really important, because we found a 0, we now are going to use these numbers to do our next synthetic division by. So I'm going to draw my line here. I'm going to now use +1 to divide by. I bring down the 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 2 and -3 is -1. 1 times -1, -1 and 0. I am extremely happy. I have found both of those to be zeros, which I knew they should have. This now is linear because we started with a cubic. When we found this 0, it became a quadratic. When we found this 0, it become linear. So this is just 2x minus 1 is my factor. So 2x minus 1 is my factor. And therefore, my solution will be +1/2. 3 solutions. And so those are my 3 zeros. And those are my 3 factors. We're going to use those zeros in helping us to graph our, our polynomial functions soon. All right, have a great evening. Work on your work in class. These are 3 of your homework problems, and so you'll have our classwork problems. You'll have a little less to do. Work hard, and I will see you guys on Monday. Go Bearcats!